Hey, this is Wes Miller at Anti-Fragile Physical Therapy. And today we're having a conversation that's probably going to be wide-ranging and go a bit all over the place with longtime client, bike racer, and friend Nick Bragg. I met Nick right after he finished engineering school at Western Carolina, and now he spends his days wrecking prototypes for Borg Warner, which gives him some time to be one of the top endurance mountain bike racers in Western North Carolina over these last few years, and you're not too shabby when you hit the gravel circuit as well. He's been on multiple teams over the years. Carmichael Training Systems, Organic Valley, Piney Flats Bike Shop to go way, way, way back. And what are you doing now?
Still racing my bike for fun. Also, thank you. That was really nice. All the things you said. Yeah. So right now, I've had it really good as far as being on teams with really cool people. But right now, I'm racing for some companies that support me. A lot of them are local, they're fragile, and I work with other companies. But anyway, EFC is the team I'm currently on, and it started as like let's just go and have a fight club on bikes, like no rules. Let's just go and just hammer and attack each other and see what happens. And so we would have these like meetups, like like a big text thread, like only come if you're invited. It was not meant to be like exclusive, but then it turned into a team. We're like, let's just turn this into a team thing. So now it's BFC, and it's just like focused on like friends and having a good time, and not like being super serious and stuff. Anyway, that's the BFC, and then with a few sponsors and support me, it's pretty sweet. Like it's awesome.
Yeah, you might actually be the very first person that convinced me to do any sort of sponsored athlete thing for you. So I love it. Over the last few years, you've been King of Pisgah multiple times. Is that right?
Once, yeah, once hit one KOP champion, and then a bunch of first, second years. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, finish with a stage race, you podium in multiple other places, and you're just as likely to be seen at a metal show somewhere between here and Atlanta. But I think most importantly, before we get started, is we all made sure that we had our bread sponsor for today. So I picked High Top Bakery. They're at the North Asheville Tailgate Market, Ben Ritson. I appreciate this. So I went with the avocado smash with the Trader Joe's everything bagel salt
Okay,
top.
so
What's
how much
yours?
how much kickback are you getting when you smile and eat this and enjoy it? They're gonna be sending you so much everything
I
seems.
have I have four children. Trader Joe's gets a lot of money from me.
To answer your question, I have special bread. This is from. This is gonna look weird. Anyway, I'm holding up a piece of bread, but this is from Iceland. I did a stage race in Iceland a few weeks ago, and I found some bread that was blew my mind. So we won some things, and one of them was a dry storage bag. So I went to the bakery that had this amazing bread, the sliced up loaf of bread in dry storage bag for bike stuff. Flew back home, immediately put in the freezer, and so for special occasions, I've been enjoying this sourdough crummy bread from Iceland, Reykjavik, and I put some olive oil on there because keep it simple.
I love it. Man, that is, you win on the amount
I'm not
of
trying to be
yards that you're.
pretentious, but I do have some Iceland bread.
There you go. I love
Yeah.
it. So then now that we've settled whoever our bread sponsor is going to be, and we'll be looking for that for this opportunity looking forward. Let's get down to business. One of the things that we love doing here at Antifragile is addressing comfort on a bike. And that can look like so many different things. Having spent some time as an endurance bike racer, um, and cyclocross, and done just a little bit of everything because it's fun. My question that I kind of always start with people is every rider has a weak link. Like every rider has the thing that if they're going to be on the bike long enough, it's going to be uncomfortable. For me, it was always like low back stuff. I don't have back pain. I don't deal with that. But like if something was going to get tired, it was probably going to be something around like the core stuff. What's that look like for you?
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is mental, which you guys work on, but you could. It's usually my brain that wants to wear out first, for like longer races. But mechanically, it tends to be stuff like on the inside of my quads, like between my quads and my hamstrings that want to cramp up. But like core, back, arm pump, or that stuff, I don't really have issues with. And so I tend to have to be cognizant of how I'm pedaling and not to get lazy to like, because that can cause me to cramp up too on longer races if I'm like trying to be super quad dominant, which anti-fragiles helped me realize like, okay, you have turned off your hamstrings and you're only operating from your quads or something like that. And so I try to remember, okay, pedal with like the full pedal stroke, press down, pull up. Don't exaggerate any of it, but just don't only pedal, don't only just mash with the quads. So that was something that like I learned from going to anti-fragile and that I might have figured out by now, but over long races, it's definitely beneficial for me to think about balance pedaling and not like only using one set of muscles.
And are there any other things that like you make sure that you're doing kind of off the bike to if you know that's going to kind of be the thing that you run into? Like, what are your strategies for dealing with that?
So my strategies for dealing with, I guess, trying to smart about muscle and balance. And pedaling is, I guess, a little bit of cross training. I don't do enough cross training. For me, stretching. Like I just, if my hamstrings are really tight, I feel like I'm less likely to really use them. That's probably just mental. And then honestly, going in to see you guys every couple times a season or something, because there's stuff that I can't like get out with a foam roller or stretching, and so it tends to be coming in to get therapy. Um, those kind of things help me out.
Well, you know, it's interesting because you were also talking about like the mental aspect of pain, like on a bicycle. Um,
Yeah,
and again, like there's aspects of fit that are part of that as well. And, you know, if we're talking about like totality of fit and comfort, you know, on a
yeah.
bicycle that allows you to just be more efficient and continue to go, like, are there strategies that you specifically use like mentally when you're out there or when you're like, you know, in the pain cave on the struggle bus, like pick your analogy. What do you do there?
First of all, I keep putting myself in that situation. Sometimes you're out there and you're racing, you're like, why do I keep doing this? But there's something about the tenacity of it. But anyway, the ment. So what I always think about when I'm hour 5, 6, 7, whatever it may be, and I'm like not making a lot of power on the bike, or I am beyond tired, or like I'm pushing my bike up a hill and I'm questioning why I'm doing this. What I always return to think is, no matter how you're feeling, this will not last. And I think about that in the beginning of a race. Let's think there's a 6 hour race, a lap race or something, and I'm like, I'm feeling good. I'm gonna go. I'm like, nope. No matter how you're feeling, it's not gonna last. At hour 5, you're gonna wish you didn't burn those 2 matches on that first lap. You're not gonna win on the first lap. So anyway, no matter how you're feeling, it won't last. I always have that mantra in my head, and it kind of makes me feel like, okay, I'm feeling like absolute crap right now, but I'll eventually not feel like crap. Maybe it's at the finish line, maybe it's in the hot shower at home, but eventually I'll be feeling better. So temporary.
Temporary. So looking back, you know, you've been on the bike in that uncomfortable position a lot of time. Can you pinpoint a moment where you were the most uncomfortable on a bike?
There's been a lot of them, like TMI here, but the Guatemala stage race 2016 or whatever it was. I don't know what year it was. I had food poisoning. Actually, 2 years in a row that race I had food poisoning, and I'll save you the details because no one wants to hear this. But I was actually on the side of the trail as like the whole peloton passes. I am like actively relieving myself in someone's side yard, and the rest of like the mountain bikers are going. I couldn't hold it. They're like looking across the way and seeing some poor person, not poor, but like some person on their in their house looking out at a bike race happening and some dude on the side of the trail relieving himself. Anyway,
There was a point you actually got frostbite?
yeah, and I don't remember exactly. I mean, I remember getting frostbite and then having like my second whatever it was, but yeah, just not wearing enough clothing. Always thinking I'll be fine, I'll be fine, I'll warm up, and then the weather gets worse and you're on a mountain and uh, your feet are soaked. Anyway, yeah, I have a history of being of dressing scantily clad or like not enjoying it.
Let me slip into something more comfortable. That's
Yeah, we
this
were
bike
descending
kit.
down. We were descending with some friends and I were descending down Farlow one time, and I remember I was wearing like summer kit, and we ran into these people and like they stopped us and they're like, "It's snowing. What are you, Florida?" And I was like, "Not me. Like, not wearing enough clothes."
Hopefully that wasn't too offensive a statement to you. That you might be from Florida.
Oddly, no, Florida man.
It's a right. It's a place where people are from. You know, we'll just say that people are from there.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I don't think we've ever done a bike fitting, right? Like, I don't think that that was something you ever had to come in for. I know you've sent lots of other people in. at different times. I can remember like you sent another friend in who just rolled into town, like serious racer, was looking to like move into highly competitive as he moved into like the mid 30s. And I just remember it was so intimidating because he had just seen this bike fitter outside of Detroit that like was one of the top guys. Like it is a place where people travel to go and get fitting, and he'd been having this discomfort on his, I want to say it was his gravel bike, cross bike. I don't even know if they had gravel racing at that point. This time I think we just called it cyclocross. And I had to go through the fit. I was like super nervous, and we got through it, and we essentially got the same measurements. And I was like, man, that just really doesn't make sense, until we realized like we started like bouncing up and down on kind of the equipment, and he had a broken saddle rail that was just like under the C clamp mechanism. And until he really like put power into the bike, like it just didn't show up. And so that was the total difference in that, since that time, he's a guy that comes in kind of like you regularly for just like tune ups and to kind of keep fresh. And I think that's one of those things that like the value of having spent a lot of time on a bike when you're looking at a bike fit, or just from a PT standpoint, that you're trying to put all these things together. I just remember that because like you're always attached to that, like in my head, because like you trusted me enough after seeing all the dumb stuff I've done in my career, and then like you've done all that to say like people who have high levels of expectation like are going to come in and get some good work done. And yeah, I mean, and the other one, like I'll just keep talking because why not. I remember you had developed like a brand new thing. Like we've struggled through, we had some Achilles stuff, you've had some knee stuff over time. We'll talk about some other things you've run into in the last couple of years later, but you had like a, yeah, you had like a weird outer hamstring pain, and I was like, that's funny. And you were just like, no, everything should be fine. Like, just put on some new shoes, new cleats, like everything's fine. I was like, you should really check that one of your cleats is not twisted and come out of position. Because I remember that this very thing kind of had happened to me after like a few long rides. I was getting back into putting some volume in. And I was like, man, why does my like knee and my outer hamstring feel weird? And like I looked down and one of the bolts had just like worked itself loose, and my cleat was completely just twisted and like buried on one end. And you were like, I don't know, I don't think that's the case. And like you went home and like sent me a picture of your bottom of your shoes, and one cleat was of course like twisted out that way. And again, like just totally takes into account the fact that like sometimes it's not that stuff you're looking for, and your hamstring was not the problem, your body was not the problem. The like awareness of your equipment and the structure of all those things, came to be the reality of the situation.
Yeah, you can be so like in your head about I know what the solution is. It's something that's wrong with my legs that because I just I've been riding. Like you do a quick once over on your equipment, or you even notice like you feel like you're pedaling just normal and everything's tracking. It turns out like you need someone else that has the critical eye and like a new space to look at it. And like the bike fit. If you work with someone that is only familiar with just the bike and pedaling, that's fine. But if you have someone that like understands body mechanics and why things should be the way they are because the way the body works, I think that gives like anti-fragile a leg up, no pun intended, to like be really good at bike fitting. Anyway, not meant to be an infomercial, but like truly, it helps to have an understanding of the body so detail oriented like you guys do. Anyway,
Yeah, and unfortunately we don't have a wind tunnel, so like we can't do everything. And that's what I laugh. Like, there's aspects of performance that just are just sort of beyond the technical aspects that we have here, but making sure you're comfortable on a bike, we can do that with very, very low tech and very high acuity. And I think that's, what we shoot for. You still there? All right then. There we go. Maybe he'll come back. We're gonna take this time. Thanks, Hey Top Bakery. Well, we'll just juggle.
dude, sorry, my laptop died because I was using the other laptop and I didn't have my charger.
So a couple of years ago, you had, let's call it a rough patch. Maybe that's an understatement. And maybe you can talk about how that affected your like comfort level on a bike. And then my other question is like, did you have to make any adjustments as far as your fit goes to like accommodate what you were doing during the healing process? So I'll let you talk.
So yeah, I had this crazy, call it bad luck, call it whatever you want, but I broke three clavicles within a year's time frame, or a year and a
Oh,
half. It was December, May, July. Like first time healed naturally, second two were surgery, so I have scars right here. Anyway, pretty bad. Definitely mentally struggled. It's been hard to get back to like the speed I had before on the descents. But yeah, it's definitely like been hard, but at the it's also like I do it out of love. Like I love racing and riding, so I'm not going to stop. Haven't had to adjust anything on the bike, um, which is nice. I have had to get some physical therapy from having so much scar tissue or whatever it was, just like being in a sling or like having surgery and stuff. I had some like kind of breathing issues, and it was all this like you could tell me better than I could, but it was a bunch of just stuff that was like constricting me from breathing. And going to anti-fragile, like they like figured out what it was, and it's never come back. Knock on wood.
Like as far as the clavicle goes, in starting getting back into training, I mean, did you, like you said, talking about speed, did you decide to like start going to Canoga and ride Rock Creek? Did you get a downhill bike and start trying to like push things? Or was it just sort of the natural evolution of you kind of coming back and being comfortable with like what your body was capable of doing?
Honestly, at first I ran away from my problems. I started riding like road a little bit more and just like steering away from the stuff that scared me and that was really fast downhill on like technical stuff. And then I felt like I couldn't hold my friend's wheels going downhill. Like I couldn't hold my same speed. And so then I got into my head about it and ultimately I ended up going to therapy and working on like this like flashback stuff I was having. Like I had to work on this stuff mentally. And then that helped me like frame the mood I was in on the bike and how I was scared. And then I was able to mostly get past it. I still have it, and I still think about some of the things that would flash through my head. But yeah, it took me a while, but I'm mostly back there. I don't know if I'll ever be as fast downhill as I was in when I was in my early 20s or late 20s, just like reckless abandon, like in a way, But I feel pretty good now.
That's great, and like, and thank you for like taking the moment to kind of share that that's like a struggle you've had to work through. And I don't think that people always appreciate like on the other side of injury and recovery is there is still um, the experience of that and like how we internalize that. And a lot of people think that they can just get stronger or they can just get faster or better endurance or you get their fitness back that they're going to be potentially as good as they were, but sometimes like you said it's just about the mindset and like recognizing in real time that when you're like said, rolling down Farlow, like you can't have a lot of things eating up your bandwidth, right? Like it slows you down.
You're so right about that. And like you're trying to address the thoughts that are going through your head about how you're going to be lying in the crash in a second, or someone tells you like just go faster and like you'll stop thinking about it, or just like stop worrying, or like there's so many things that people just say like, oh, just get past it. And like you want so badly to do that, but you actually have to address and have some coping mechanisms and understand why you're feeling this way and stuff. Anyway, I digress. I'm mostly back to feeling fast and mentally good on the bike descending. Yeah.
And again, like we talked, like it's fit on the bike, it's comfort. And being like overly tense, overly tight. I mean, like everyone who spent time doing hard or challenging or dynamic things on a bike, that if you're not relaxed and you're not reactive and you're not like very present in that moment on what's happening in real time, that's a good way to be very uncomfortable on a bike. And then again, that's also a good way to be on the ground shortly after.
Like you ever have that where you're descending and you're thinking like you are going very fast and you are flying through rock gardens and you're like, what should I make for breakfast tomorrow morning? Like maybe should I have pancakes? No, I'm not gonna have pancakes. I'm gonna have and then like you're like, whoa, you're riding here. Get back to looking at yeah, the
And
mind likes to drift. Yeah.
it does. Like I was just reading this book that was about they call it the attentional economy, but they were talking about how people in hostage situations basically report mainly boredom. As when they ask you like what feelings were you experiencing, it's mainly boredom because after the like wow big excitement of like this thing happening, they're basically like doing nothing. And so their brain is like, this is really boring sitting here, even though we're in this like horribly dangerous, like very present, real and present situation, but then you like wander off to think about your grocery list or like whatever that next thing is like you said. So that's, I mean, to me that's like one of the beautiful things about being on a bicycle, particular down hills, is that you can, it's just really hard to not be really present for the most part, and if it's challenging enough, like you're just there and all the other stuff sort of fades into
Yep.
background noise, and that's that's the joy of why you do it. And that's why after 3 collarbone breaks you're like, I'm back, I think it's fine, I'm still
I
racing.
can't quit. I can't quit.
Can't quit. I can't quit you. That's awesome. So you coming from your background as engineer, from a technical standpoint, kind of have a level of knowledge or like a a base set of capacity that other people do not have. And I was wondering if that has that informed your approach to being comfortable on a bike and how you have kind of set up your fits over the period of time.
Yeah, it gives me the engineering mindset is can be helpful for problem solving. It can also be bad for problem solving. How I think I can know better sometimes, right? I'm like, oh, I understand how this is working. That's not a problem. Like, I guess as an example, when I was in college, I remember thinking, oh, if I want to get more mechanical advantage out of my pedal stroke, I should like raise my seat a little bit so my leg is fully extended, so I'm getting the full pedal stroke, right? Turns out your IT band doesn't like that. And so I figured that out. But no, I mean, I wouldn't say I try to get overly creative with a bike fit. Leave it to the professionals that have the experience to know what you should and shouldn't be doing. That's where I'll leave that. Yeah.
That's fair. Like on the engineering side, like was that the I'm trying to remember if that was you had Achilles issues kind of early on when we started working together too. Was that like
Achilles
trying to
issues
increase?
was me being dumb. I was like, let's get a single speed, let's put a hard gear on there, and let's mash all the time. And I went out and did like 3 or 4 rides every week where I was just doing 2 or 3 hours and just having super low cadence. And anyway, learned my lesson on that.
Yep. Yeah, the ankle is an ineffective lever
That
comparatively. And yeah, like low gears. And again, like I think everyone has their single speed phase. Some people's last longer than others until you realize that gears are just such wonderful
gears are
technology.
awesome. Gears are really cool. Single speeding is a weird kind of torture. I remember like when I had that Achilles tendon issue, I remember feeling like the creakiness in my leg, and before I went and saw anti-fragile, I was like, I can fix this. And I remember I was like, I vividly remember walking up a trail, pushing my bike, and like feeling this stretch happen. And like the creakiness, and I remember coming into you and like, yeah, I've been stretching and like been walking up these things and feeling the creakiness and stretching down. And you're like, not good. Anyway, yeah, you guys healed me up quick. It was all
Yeah.
good.
No. All right. So like that goes back to like these like waves of technology or lack of technology or just like changes in the like zeitgeist of what people think is good or bad, in the cycling world, having been in a long time. Like, are there particular aspects of like technology or just information that's come in that you like really have like held on to and has been like helpful from a performance standpoint or a comfort standpoint when you're on the bike for a while?
I think there's like certain products that have been developed. I mean, just like even like saddle technology that's come a long way, or like grips. Like there's certain grips that I really like, and those help me not have so much hand fatigue. Or I think those are things that help that we kind of take for granted. I mean, like tubeless tires, like that makes you feel more comfortable. Or like running a little bit bigger tires on is like now a new thing, right? Where it turns out it's more efficient to run a bigger tire on gravel and road stuff, or gravel specifically, and it's more comfortable. So I think there's like some just like you're saying technological advances that have helped. Um, but I'm not one to I'm one to chase like efficiency gains that are somewhat easy and cheap, but I'm not going to be the guy that's like wearing maybe specific aero socks every ride, or like going out and riding at zone two for 80% of my rides and 20% at a higher threshold, just because like I want to enjoy my time on the bike. That's what it comes down to.
Or do you not come home now and like layer up in winter clothes and like finish your rides with your heat
Heat
adaptive
training.
training?
So flex, we have a sauna here, and I'm too cheap to like turn to like, well, maybe not too cheap. But, like I don't want to do my summer ride, come home, up in the sauna, and like call me crazy, but I don't want to do that. Be it paying for it or be it like just sweating longer. Like I don't know. I'm not that dedicated where I need that 4% gain, whatever it is.
That's yeah. And again, that's theoretical, like theoretical gain on top of other stuff.
Proven. YouTube proved it.
You are talking to someone that owns a cold plunge. We all have our things, but like I've been the like ride and dip in freezing cold streams like is my favorite part of like being around Pisca.
I love that so much. Yeah.
So, using, again, like, it's not new technology, using heat for positive adaptation, using cold for positive adaptation. Like, these are things that have existed for a long period of time, and like you said, like the technology pieces that have certainly improved. Dude, I remember when disc brakes came on and we were like, wow, you can stop so you can go fast, and like, I remember when tubeless tires like would rip off rims and burp all the time. And I watch people have some just heinous, heinous crashes because this like awesome new 29er tubeless just like ripped right off the rim and like logged up in their fork. I remember when it coming down to Club Gap on Black Mountain, my friend, one time just like the whole front end and like stopped, and he was okay, but it was a scary moment. So
There was
you know,
some good news though.
and there's aspects too, like in the time that really even in the last 15 years, like crank length has like adaptively shortened over time. Like 20 something years ago when I started, I knew people with 180, 185 millimeter crank lengths, one on a single speed. And the fact that that has come down significantly is just sort of consistent with like positive adaptations. And mainly what it is it's a lever arm function of just like cutting off the hardest parts of the pedal stroke where the levers are the highest, right? Like
Yeah,
the more you creep that out, you just make it more comfortable and you make it so that you have a little bit more room for error on your like saddle position and bike fit because you're not stretching out as much and you're not compressing the knee as much. And so some of those changes, the fact that we can get different pedal spindle lengths, like has really, and some people don't even know that there's different pedal
yeah,
spindle lengths. So you can find, just watch it when you just need a pair of XTs and you end up with a half-inch difference in your pedal spindle position because you like stopped into a shop, on the way out of Pisgah. But like there's these things that the industry has done to make things way more comfortable. Saddle technology, like you talked about. But the interesting part, like I had a guy that came in the other day with like a 3D printed amazing physique saddle, and he was absolutely miserable, but he wanted to use this cool new saddle with this great new technology. And we went across the street and bought a $45 saddle. And he was like, this is amazing. And went and rode 60 miles because it was just this shape, the shape of anatomy. Saddles really, there's kind of three different styles. They haven't changed in look very much as far as like what is comfortable for the bottom of your, saddle area. And then the technology, like if you get the right fit, if you're in like you find your third, then it's cool, then there's amazing things that have happened. But it is funny how often, like again, that was a $450 saddle that we'd swapped for a $45 saddle, and now he's going to go buy a $300 saddle that's shaped like the one that he likes, but like that was our test.
yeah, yeah.
So many things. All right, what else do you want to talk about from a comfort on a bike standpoint, from a race standpoint? Got any other good stories? What haven't we talked about yet?
How many stories are coming to mind right off the bat?
All good.
I guess like it seems weird to say, or not weird, but I mean, knowing having a resource like Anti-Fragile has allowed me to enjoy my time on the bike more, and it's not not super cheap up front, but it is worth the money that you put into it if you value what you do. Like I love going to Anti-Fragile because I feel like immediately I'm gonna figure out what is wrong and it's gonna be addressed like as soon as possible. So this crazy brain up here doesn't have to take much time off the bike and can resume riding and not addressing the real issue, which is up here now. It is great to have the resource like that to get back doing what you like as soon as you want to. So that's been super nice for me having that to count on.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons I love working with engineers in general is because like problem solving and looking for like the testable hypothesis and the like most likely solution is just part of like what you do day in and day out, especially like on your side with R&D. Like that's your job is to like change small things and then does it wreck it? Change small things and does it wreck it? Or do you have like outside goalposts that as long as it stays within these, like it's never going to hit this like failure point,
Yep.
right? And so like to me, that's very much how I approach sort of the human body is like, are we inside the goalposts and we just need to do some tune up and everything's safe? Or are we approaching these outside things that we're looking at potential failure problems? And then like, how do we test that hypothesis and how do we like move forward into that? And to me, that's why it's essential to like understand the nature, just like, you destroy things on cars and you also happen to know a lot about wrenching cars and building cars and racing cars as a side note, and I'm going to assume that that provides you some insight that maybe other people who don't have that background have.
Yes, it does. Mechanical sympathy, or like it's a little bit reverse order here, but going from mountain bike racing, which I started when I was like a kid growing up in Vermont, going to that, getting more serious into mountain biking, and then going into rally car racing, I felt like I had to step up because I understood like choosing your line. I understood texture differences like on gravel roads or reading the road better, or just like understanding like, hey, this is a long race. Like don't go crazy on the first stage or the first little bit of the race. But then also, like from the engineering side, sure, you have to understand the equipment that you're racing with, or maybe you shouldn't grab gears at once and then try to mash on the pedals. You might break something. Like there's there's definitely some crossover there. One thing that's kind of cool that I'm starting to work on right now, which doesn't really relate to this conversation, testing hypotheses. I'm doing some tire testing for a manufacturer, and they have this hypothesis that a wider mountain bike tire is going to be better than like a narrower tire. So let's say like 2.2, 2.3 compared to like a 2.6, 2.7. And they have like different metrics, right? Like better could be more comfortable, better could be more traction, better could be more speed because you're more comfortable and because you have better traction, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's kind of cool to like think about that from an engineering mindset. Like, how can I make this test and quantify all of these different metrics and like these variables and all this stuff? So anyway, that's kind of cool. I'm trying to wrap my head around how I'm going to do this testing and like use different tires and different how to like make the test repeatable and all this stuff. Anyway, so that's something cool I'm working on.
Oh, that's awesome. And and so many of those things, like as with many things in like sports, the funk does it work like leads the why does it work because people start
Sure.
figuring these things out. And like in my world, a lot of things in the PT world, we actually have learned from like bodybuilding because bodybuilders, if it makes them bigger, if it makes them stronger, power lifters, like
Oh, sure.
if it builds ultimate capacity runners, like elite level athletes, they're going to use it. And then other people are going to figure out that they're using it, they're going to use it. And they don't care why it works. They care that it does work.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that they can see that, like, what do they say? Like, no man with an experience is beholden to someone with a theory.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if you're like, yes, this clearly is working to some degree, then it's a question of like looking back on that second stage and like figuring out why that is. And I think that's, in the practice of medicine and physical therapy, that's why they call it practice, is because we're still trying to figure out like what are the things that we're doing. And I don't do anything that hasn't been done to humans for like thousands of years. Manual therapies, exercise, stretching, good advice, trying to understand the basic components of like what does it mean to move a human body. And so there's that. So I think you've said it correctly in that, like, what are the different aspects of what does work mean? And then how do you break that down? And then how do you like create goals and create information based on that? So that's cool. That's super additive. Thank you. Anyway, man, I appreciate your time and I won't take any more of it. And good. Are you racing shortly?
Saturday,
Like, do you have some?
111K.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Of course. I totally forgot that was this weekend. Awesome. Well, then I may end up being on the course because I got to get a 3.5 hour run in. So maybe I'll wander on to the course. I've done that a few times before in October.
That would make my day.
It's like wave. I'll try and pick a time where you're slowly going uphill and I'm going downhill. It's a lot less fun when you're going uphill and the bikes are coming down
I
like that.
would guess. Yeah.
That happened. I was doing like the Olive Turkey Pen one time, and I was just like going down. I was like, "Oh, this is fine. Hey, everybody!" And then on the other way up, I'm like, "I'm gonna die. People are going to murder me." So, all right, man. Have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.